Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I do my typical intro in the next clip. This clip is just a precursor to the video, y'all. You know how I like to do that, just to make things clear, for clarity. So the next video, y'all, again, is kind of all over the place. Not that bad, like it's clear what I'm talking about, but it's not as concise as I would like it to be. First of all, there are many grammatical errors. As I listened back, I was cringing. And if y'all checked out the last video, you'll have heard what I said about the Department of Education, etc. So now I'm being anal again and noticing every error that I make as I speak on these videos. But I've been that way anyway for the last 4 years. I really have been anyway. But there are many grammatical errors. So please excuse me. I'm exhausted. I was exhausted when I made the video, and I'm still exhausted now that I'm making this precursor video. And also, it's just a level of angst, y'all, because I'm being judged critically and harshly. I'm dealing with bullying. I'm being watched by the whole island. You know, they're constantly coming for everything about me with the technology. So it's just like this nerve-wracking thing whenever I make these videos and I start to stammer on my words. And, you know, so it's some of that is happening in the next few clips that you're going to listen to. But the video's clear. You know you can hear what I'm talking about, and it's not really confusing. It's just that I'm referencing things that I've talked about in prior videos. So to be clear, y'all, the video is documentation of some gang stalking activity that's taken place over the course of, the last few days in my new gym. You know, the same usual gym stuff, y'all. But it kind of ties in with the gang stalking that I've been dealing with in general here on island. Not just in the gym, but everywhere I go. These weird tactics that are being used on me, y'all. And sometimes it almost seems, not almost seems, let me just be clear. It's manipulation. It's manipulating some of the tactics that are used. I'm just being honest. I don't want to get in trouble for what I'm saying, but I'm just defending myself. Because I saw right before my very eyes what was taking place with this manipulative tactic they were using in the new gym. You're going to hear what happened, y'all, when you listen to the next clip. And when I finally had a reaction today to what was being done, I immediately saw how they started to try to villainize me for the reaction. And so this is why I make these videos. It's not just documenting abuse or whatever it is I'm dealing with in the targeting. It's oftentimes to defend myself. So anyways, so the next clip, y'all, I'm just documenting, like I said, some gang stalking activity in my new gym and some manipulative tactics that are being used to impede my workout. And before I get into talking about what took place, I do kind of delve into what started my targeting. When I'm doing the intro in the next clip, I go a little deeper than I typically do with my intros, and I start talking about, the links in the description box and comment section. I always mention this in the beginning of all of my videos. I say, check out the links in the description box and comment section, and there you'll see an identical set of links that lead to videos that talk about my story, what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links that share information about the technology used on targets and the tactics used on targets. But then I start delving a little deeper into that intro, and I start talking about what started my targeting, and I start kind of rehashing things I've said already and retelling the story. I more so go into detail about the offensive content that I shared when I tried to relocate off of the island in 2022. If you're familiar with my videos, y'all, and you're not new to the channel, you've listened to my story, you'll know that I've been targeted since 2020. When I moved back to the island that I was born and raised on. I graduated, got my bachelor's degree, and I moved home to teach in 2020, summer of 2020. And I sent a text message that resembled a situation that I was dealing with in Florida before I came home. So that's why you have to listen to my story to know, what I'm talking about. Because I do, like I said, start delving into the story again in the next clip. But I'm talking about it in a way as if you've heard my story. So please don't listen to this video if you haven't heard my story. Long story short. But anyway, I sent the text in 2020 and it was blown up and taken out of context. And that was when the targeting started. So for 2 years here on the island, I was dealing with weird activity I didn't know it was targeting. Tried to relocate off island summer of 2022. I went to the mainland, to the United States. Was there for a few months. I was there until the end of 2022. And while I was up there, the targeting had worsened. I had some reactions to it following me. I didn't know, again, I was a target until the end of 2022. You know, I've said this in prior videos. I didn't learn that I was a target until I came back home, because that's what ended up happening, y'all. The targeting blew up in the States. I had stupid reactions, didn't know I was a target. I just realized the thing from the island that I was trying to escape followed me, and I was pissed. And I was dealing with a lot of heinous treatment, and the targeting was much worse in the States than it was in the islands. And I've heard other targets say that too. So I had reactions, and I shared offensive content, and the targeting blew up, and I almost lost my life in Florida. Anyway, so I ended up coming back to the island I tried to relocate off of at the end of 2022, November of 2022. And that was when I did research and learned that I was a target. And from there, it was history. I just started learning a bunch of information and sharing it here on my channel. But that's what you're going to hear me talking about in the next clip, y'all. I start kind of rehashing, like I said, not kind of, here we go with the poor grammar. I start to rehash the story that I've told many times. Just more so the, see the stammering up, it's like you would swear I couldn't speak, y'all. It's just anxiety, and I'm tired too. Anyways, so I just start retelling certain parts of the story, mainly the part where the targeting blew up in the mainland and what led to the racial element in my targeting, because that ties into what's going on with the gang stalking in my new gym, and how they're and how they're using this manipulative tactic to impede my workout and tying it to the racial element of the targeting. So that's what you're going to hear in the next clip. I start, doing the intro that I typically do. And I start talking about specifically the part of my targeting 2 years in when I tried to relocate off island and I went to the mainland and things blew up. I start rehashing some of the things I've already talked about in my full story, in the videos where I told my story. And then I get into talking about the gang stalking tactic that they're using and how it's how it's this manipulative tactic to impede my workout and also villainize me. It's not cool, man. It's not cool what's happening. Anyways, y'all, so please do check out the links in the description box and comment section to hear my story in its entirety, so that you're not confused with what's being said in the next clip. Because again, it's like I'm just telling you a little small part of the story, and I'm referencing things that I've talked about already as if you've already heard my story. So that's why I did this precursor, y'all, just to be clear. And there's even a video in the description box and comment section where I specifically talk about in detail what happened when I tried to relocate and when things blew up. And it's a lot more clear than how I talk about it in the next clip. Anyway, y'all, so that's what's going on in the video. Me just doing my intro, my typical intro, rehashing what happened when I tried to relocate off island 2 years after the targeting, tried to go to the States, rehashing some of the things that occurred, how the targeting blew up, some of the offensive content I shared, what led to my targeting taking a racial turn, how the racial element got added to my targeting. And then I move into talking about the gang stalking activity that they've been using on me in my new gym over the course of the last few days. Actually, they've been doing it since I got into the new gym, but things have amped up recently. And it's like this new tactic that they're trying to use, this manipulative tactic to impede my workout. Anyway, I'll talk to you in the next one, y'all. That's it. This is just a precursor for clarity as usual. Peace out. Y'all, I just wanted to come on and actually show you those links that I'm talking about it. So, for instance, this is one video. I do this with all of my videos. You'll see a pinned comment, right, that include links that lead to different videos that talk about what started my targeting, right? You see the first link says link to my restating how I became a targeted individual and update video. Link to my how I became a targeted individual full story video. So I have multiple videos, y'all, where I told my story. This full story video is an 11-hour 7-part compilation where I'm actually on camera if you want to see me, y'all. I'm really skinny in that video. That was back in 2023, and I had dealt with, radiation energy weapon attacks. Thank God they're not using that on me anymore. And that was around the time, too, when I had just come back home from almost losing my life in Florida. And, surprisingly enough, my face looks pretty rejuvenated in the video, despite all I had been through back then. But I'm extremely skinny. I'm no longer that skinny, y'all. I'm like 20 pounds heavier, 25 pounds heavier than I was in that video. But I'm on camera, long story short. And I tell my whole life story. That's a video where I mentioned things I probably didn't even need to mention. I just told my whole life story in that video. in addition to talking about what started my targeting. Then here's another option. Link to my commentating over clip from my full story that shares how I became a targeted individual. In that video, I'm just commentating over a part of the video, the 11-hour compilation, and I'm doing commentary and expounding on certain things that I wanted to expound on. Link to my how I became a targeted individual summary video. Y'all, there are so many videos where I told my story, okay? And then you have other links, like I said, that talk about different things, technology, how the technology they use on targets. There's a link to a video where you can learn how to create an anti-nano bucket and pull the nano out the body. But there's also a link to another video that I want you all to check out. Is that the video? Hold on, y'all. These are all just videos, y'all, that share information about the technology used on targets. And you could take your time and go through these links. Like I said, it's pertinent info and it's worth your time checking them out. Not just to hear my story and learn who I am so you can understand what I'm talking about in these videos and just be familiar with me if you're following me and my journey. But also, like I said, pertinent info about technology that's utilized on targets. But this video here, link to my gaslighting and programming of the targeted individual part 1 video. In this video, I expound on what happened when I tried to relocate off island in 2022. The events that occurred when I was in the States that led to me sharing the offensive content. I go into vivid detail in this video here. The link to my gaslighting and programming of the targeted individual part 1 video. So I would recommend you check that video out as well, because that's what I'm talking about in the next clip, y'all. But in bits and pieces, I'm just, like I said, rehashing some of the things that happened before I get into or delve into what's going on in the new gym and how they're trying to use this manipulative tactic, and it's tied to the racial element of my targeting. Anyway, that's it, y'all. So check out those links. They're in this pinned comment, right? In every video. It's always in this pinned comment in the comment section. And then it's also in the description box, the same exact links. That's why I say it's an identical set of links. Anyway, y'all, so that's all I wanted to say. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out. Also, y'all, first of all, I want to apologize for the few times where you heard me belching. I tried to cover my mouth, but I had just drank a soda. I don't drink soda, y'all. I don't drink Coke. I don't drink soft drinks. I don't even drink juice that's not homemade anymore. I've completely changed my diet, but tonight I was unable to make juice. I was unable to make, enough green tea to last me, and I didn't get to rest before I came here on shift. So I ran to the gas station and I purchased a Coke because I know it has caffeine in it. Definitely out of character for me these days, but that's why, you heard a few belches. I literally just drank a Coke, y'all. And then the other thing, I know I promised a workout video. The last 2 videos I've been saying the next video is going to be a workout update. And you keep seeing me post new videos, but these are unplanned videos. I'm literally just posting as I go because these tactics are being used on me, and these tactics are being used on me, and I feel the need to defend myself. So I keep popping up with videos that are unplanned. But hopefully the next video, if God spares my life, will truly be the workout update, y'all. And like I said in the last video, it's, I'm not sure what I'm going to post. I don't know if I'm going to just show myself working out like I've done before. If you scroll through my videos, you'll see recently, maybe about, it's not even that recent anymore. It was from last year, maybe 7 months ago, something like that. I have videos where I posted myself working out on camera. And then there are videos where I've just taken a clip of what my body looks like. So I have different videos posted on the channel, and I don't know what the next workout video is going to look like. I'll decide whenever I get to making the video, but a workout update is coming, y'all. Hopefully the next video will truly be the workout update, if God spares my life. That's the plan, at least. Anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about, y'all. If you scroll back through my videos recently, wow, I'm surprised I guessed the right number. I was just taking a wild guess. Yeah, so it was 7 months ago. 7 months ago, you'll see I posted some workout updates, me doing some workouts. That's pretty much what I look like now. I think I look a little bit more full or toned, but for the most part, pretty much what I look like anyway. And then I even have a video from back when I weighed more, 10 months ago, when I weighed 190 something pounds. I don't weigh that anymore. I weigh I weigh the same amount of weight that I have. My gosh, y'all, I'm so tired. I didn't get to rest before I came here to work. I look like how I look in these videos for the most part. These videos from 7 months ago. My weight range is in the 170s. Now that I've changed my diet and I'm eating healthier and I'm not eating multiple meals in a day to try to bulk up, I look more like these videos here from 7 months ago. My weight is in the 170s. This video here where I look like I'm like kind of stacked from 10 months ago, I was 190 something. But anyway, so I don't know what the style of the next workout video is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like this one where I showed you all just, you know, like a video of me standing in the mirror, or if it's going to be something like this where I set the camera up and show you me squatting or doing some sort of workout. So we'll see. I'll decide as I go. But the next video hopefully will truly be a workout update. All right, y'all. Peace out. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to the channel, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links. Links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links that lead to videos that share information about the targeted individual program. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry, a little bit of gas. I ate some junk food a little while ago. Had a cheat day. I messed up. I've been having a lot of cheat days recently, y'all. I'm gonna do better. Tomorrow's actually my meal prep day where I'm gonna prep my stuff for the week. So, anyways, y'all, been a slow start to the week, but yeah, check out those links, y'all. Those links lead to, like I said, videos that share info about the targeting. You'll see videos that tell my story, how I got targeted in 2020. Info about the program, technology that they utilize on us, tactics that they utilize on us, etc. Just a plethora of info, y'all. As I say at the beginning of all of my videos, although I've been targeted since 2020, summer of 2020 to be exact, I did not learn that I was a target until the end of 2022, when I came back to the island I was born and raised on, and the island I tried to relocate off of summer of 2022. So I tried to relocate, went to the mainland. The targeting followed me. I didn't know I was a target at the time. I just knew something weird was going on because I sent a text in 2020. The biggest mistake of my life. Anyway, so, and I've made many mistakes, y'all, but that one was the biggest. Anyway, so then I tried to relocate in 2022, summer of 2022. Went up to the mainland, did not know that the weird thing that was happening on the island would follow me. It followed me. I had reactions to it following me, just like how it works for all targets. We react to the abuse, and then you get more targeted and more abused, and more people hop on the hate train. Anyway, so the targeting blew up, and I ended up coming back to the island that I tried to relocate off of. I had no choice. This is my home, first of all. I shouldn't have had to leave in the first place. The whole thing is completely unfair. You know, I resigned from a good job. I was a teacher. I was doing it for 2 years, and I was on the side doing security. I had an apartment. I had a car, y'all. I had to let all those things go and resign, and basically you could say go on the run when I hadn't committed a crime because of the harassment and antagonization that was taking place before I tried to relocate off island, before I ever shared any offensive content, y'all, and before the targeting went viral. Because we're going to talk about the tactics, the manipulative tactics they use in this video, and how they try to paint like it or pretend like it's about one thing when it's not. Whatever puts you into the targeting, whatever the revenge campaign is about, whatever it was that you were thrown in for, that's what it's really about. All the abuse that you're receiving. It's not about anything that you did in the targeting. Trust and believe that. Anyway, so I'm not meaning to go off on a rant, y'all. This whole video is just documentation of manipulative tactics, gang stalking tactics, and harassment, and just not feeling free, just never feeling free, man. Just constant harassment and manipulation. It's exhausting. Anyway, so, you know, you can hear it in my voice. I'm tired, y'all. And I'm working a lot too, which I'm not complaining about. I'm grateful for the hours. I'm so glad. Thank God, at least they're doing that for me. At least I have consistent hours. I'm grateful for that. But that's why I sound tired, because I work out like an athlete. I work out like an Olympian athlete. That's how I'm dealing with everything, y'all. That's how I'm dealing with my mental health. That's how I'm keeping my body in shape with everything that I'm going through with the high cortisol levels and everything else. I'm working out like an Olympian athlete during the daytime, and then I'm working the night shift almost every night. So That's why I sound drained, y'all. And then I'm emotionally and mentally drained, y'all. And I'm an introvert too. So you can imagine how taxing something like this is for me. I'm not an extroverted person. I never have been. So like these forced interactions that are not genuine and just all the horrible manipulative stuff I'm dealing with, it's just draining to me. I just feel drained. I'm not going to lie. I feel drained all day, every day. I feel drained. I feel like I cannot catch myself. Anyway, y'all. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. I wanted to finish the intro and then get into the video. I don't want this to be another long-winded, all over the place type of video. The last video, like, I had to use every trick in the book to glue that together. As you all heard, it was like a compilation of different clips, and there were many moments when I went off on tangents and I had to like do some, I don't know what you want to call it, some matchmaking and some gluing together of parts and make it come together, y'all. I don't want this video to be like that. So let me finish the intro. So like I said, I tried to relocate off island in 2022 after 2 years of dealing with targeting down here and not knowing that that's what it was. And I resigned from the jobs I was working and I went to the mainland for a few months. By the way, I'm American, y'all. This is American territory. The island I'm on, it's the United States Virgin Islands. I've said that in prior videos. So I am American, but again, it's a territory. It's not attached to the United States. It's a territory of. And I lived in the States for a number of years, y'all. Never been in trouble in my life. Never even got a speeding ticket before the targeting. So this level of punishment for a text, it's an overdue. It's not really what it is. It's not about me doing anything wrong criminally. It's a revenge campaign is what it is. So anyway, it's an overdue and punishment. I know people down here, many people who have done much worse who have never gone through this. It's just ridiculous. And that's the case with most targets. It's like oftentimes it's somebody that's quiet and reserved and introverted. So you might have had your little small friend group here or there, but you're not somebody that's been out there on the scene and you're not an extrovert. So you don't have all these connections where you could call somebody and say, hey, this unfair shit is happening. Help your girl out. Like, no. So it's like, okay, it's easy to do it to someone like this. And this is what I've seen across the board when I see targets. It's either that it's somebody that was high profile that ran their mouth, a whistleblower. So it's like they got blackballed and they got thrown in and on all the connections, like kind of just washed their hands, ain't helping them. Or it's someone like me, which is more often the case than not. Robert Duncan even talks about it, the type of people that they usually go for. And it's typically somebody that's introverted. So you don't have a lot of connections, so they can easily do this to you. Anyway, nonetheless, when I'm saying when, not if, because I will get out of this. I'm going to fight to the last, y'all. I'm going to get out of this. When I do get out of this, if God spares my life, and if I am blessed enough to have children, I am going to teach my children the importance of connections and friends, y'all, because it's very important. You think you could just go through life and be like, okay, I'm an introvert, like if my friendship kind of dwindles off and I don't hold on to that connection, oh well, I'm a solitary type person. Like, I mean, I have my little friend group, but I'm not holding on to connections and trying to connect with this person and that person. I've never been that type of person. You don't realize how important it is until you go through something like this. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all. So back to what I was saying though, y'all. I'm not meaning to go off on a tangent. So summer of 2022, tried to relocate, went to the mainland. I lived up there for a number of years. That's what I was saying. I went to school up there. In my early 20s, I lived up there for about 5 years, 5 to 7 years I was up there. Came back home at age 23 or 24, something like that. Lived down here for a number of years, and then I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree in 2018. Was up there for another 2 years. Then I came back home. Summer of 2020, I sent an innocent text. Y'all, listen to my story, please. Please listen to my story and what preceded the text message. And listen to the ludicrous, crazy shit that manifested from the text. Anyways, y'all, so it's just been like your girl been on lockdown. Literal they're blocking everything up. At least, like I said, now the financial is okay. I'm still working on things, but it's okay. It's not like before where I was completely like destitute. But everything else is blocked up. My romance life is blocked up. My love life is blocked up. I know that's the same thing, y'all. Everything is freaking blocked up. And I'm being stalked and harassed everywhere I go. I can't work out in peace. I can't, and then it's like I'm a villain if I feel some kind of way about what, you sticking an obvious gang stalker up on me that's not genuine. Like, it's just exhausting, man. Everybody else, I'm looking at them working out peacefully. I'm just like, what is this? All right, y'all. So let me talk about this here. What's going on? What this video is about? It's just about manipulative gang stalking tactics. I'm not meaning to go off on a tangent. So yeah, 2022, y'all. You know the story. If you listen to my story, you'll hear the full rundown. Tried to relocate off island, like I said. Ended up, saying and sharing offensive content out of anger because the targeting followed me. I didn't know I was a target at the time. It blew up in the mainland. I ended up, hopping from state to state. I was in Chicago. I was in Ohio. I was in all these states I had never seen before. I had seen like a handful of states prior to my targeting. And then in one swoop, I saw like 10 different states because I was hopping from state to state, driving in my freaking rental. I was in Ohio. I was in Chicago. I got all the way down to Louisiana. I almost went to Michigan. I almost drove to Michigan. I stopped myself. I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous now. This is not a road trip and you don't have the money to drive from state to state. Obviously, this is some weird shit that's following you. So hightail your ass back home, girl. Anyway, so I ended up back on the island where I tried to relocate off of, and the targeting obviously had worsened due to the reactions I had to abuse and the offensive stuff that I shared. I shared offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda for a Hebrew Israelite group that I'm not even affiliated with, which I've apologized to them too because I shared the worst of their content and I've never even been affiliated with them. So I'm sure they have an issue with me too. So, I mean, it's just I made enemies all over the place, y'all. It's funny. It's like the people that I offended from sharing the offensive content have a problem with me. The people whose content I shared have a problem with me. It's ludicrous. And that wasn't the intention. I can't help how I was raised. In high school, this is what we were taught in our household. We were taught that we were Hebrew in high school. We grew up in a relatively free household where we were like a mix of Christian and Rastafari. I went to a diverse private school, excuse me. Most of my best friends when I was in elementary school were white. Then when I got into high school, my dad came home with some ideology from his friends that he had learned about being Hebrew. And at first we were like, like it didn't make sense. Some of the stuff he was saying, we were like, hell no. And then he started showing us scripture and it started making sense, some of it. And I was a child, I was in high school, and we followed what we were taught. And so years later, down the line, this was my belief system. All of us in this house, not just me. And it wasn't just the offensive, really. It was more so just the idea that African Americans are Hebrew and that we're going to lead all the other nations. I'm just saying what the belief was, y'all, because they won't fucking let it go. And I've already apologized, but yet they're using the guys in purple. No offense to them. I'm just saying it's not what they're pretending like it's about. But they're using the guys in purple who do share the offensive content and who have been sharing it for years as gang stalkers on me. It's not about what they're pretending like it's about. It's not. This is some sort of weird revenge campaign tactic thing they're doing and pretending like it's about something that it's not. Because before I even tried to relocate off island, before I ever shared offensive stuff, they were doing this to me. That's why I tried to relocate. And that's why I got mad in the States and started sharing a bunch of offensive shit. Because stuff took a racial turn in Indiana. I knew Indiana was a predominantly white state. I did my research. I look into everything. I'm very anal. And it looked like someplace that I would be comfortable and that I could thrive. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all, because I still am doing this, man. I still keep going off on a tangent. So I came back to the island, y'all. And long story short, I came back to the island at the end of 2022 because the targeting had blown up due to me sharing offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda in my car. And before I even shared the offensive content, it had blown up because something that happened on the Greyhound bus. When I realized the targeting followed me, I had this reaction, this stupid reaction. I didn't physically harm anyone, but I started acting scornful and acting like I was spraying Lysol, and there was a homeless man in the vicinity that was coughing, and so it looked bad. And then, even though there was a Spanish guy right next to me that wasn't homeless, and I was doing the same thing to him too. And they can run back the tapes and see when I started acting weird. And it was at the Greyhound. I've said it over and over again. It was at the Greyhound station in Tennessee. When I had nodded off on my bag, I had been traveling for days, y'all. The Greyhound, don't ever travel on Greyhound. Aside from the targeting, it was just a horrible experience. It's like, they have a shortage in drivers. It's like people don't want to drive the Greyhound bus, I guess, because a lot of crazy shit pops off. You got all kinds of people hopping on the Greyhound because the ticket's cheap. So a lot of crazy shit be popping off and people don't want to do it. So they have a shortage in drivers. And if you're somebody that, like me, trying to travel across state, from Florida all the way to Indiana via Greyhound, then you have to catch connecting buses. And if you hop on if your bus is late in one state, which is what kept happening to me because they have a shortage in drivers, then you miss your next bus. And then you have to wait hours, sometimes a whole day, before another bus comes. And so it was just a horrible journey to begin with. I even peed myself a little bit, y'all. TMI, it was pissy. It was a nightmare. Anyway, so when I got to the Tennessee Greyhound station, man, I realized the thing followed me. Was so freaking exhausted. I was sitting on my suitcase. I had eaten a burger and I nodded off. And when I came to, there was like this heavyset Rasta guy that walked by me, and the back of his sweater had like this Freemason symbol on it. And I heard this weird bird chirping sound. I now know it was a bird drone, the drones that they use on targets. And that was the same chirping sound I heard before I tried to relocate off island. But I didn't know I was a target at the time, and I didn't know about the technology. I knew there was some weird bird thing they were using on me everywhere when I was hearing birds and stuff. But I didn't know the specifics like I do now. So anyway, he walked by me and I heard the same bird chirping sound I had been hearing on island. And he looked at me like a predator. He looked at me like how a lion would look at a gazelle or something like that. Like how or a bird of prey would look at, like a more timid bird. Like how a bird of prey or how a bird of prey would look at a mouse or something. Like he looked like a predator looking at prey, dude. Okay? Excuse me for the stammering, y'all. I'm tired and I don't even feel like making this video. So when he did that and he walked by me, he looked at me like that and he walked out the station and I heard the bird chirping sound. I remember just getting real paranoid. I started looking around and then I started feeling like the cameras were on me again because I had realized I was being watched on camera. Here, that's why I wasn't staying in my apartment. I had an apartment, I had a car, I was teaching. There was a point where I was teaching from my car because for a year and a half, when I became a teacher, I was teaching for years, y'all, as a substitute teacher. But when I became an actual lead teacher, a secondary English teacher, it started out virtually because this was during COVID. I didn't even get to walk the year I graduated due to COVID. I didn't walk until year 2022 with my younger sister when she graduated due to COVID. I didn't get to walk during the year that I graduated. So anyway, when I started actually teaching for real, it was virtually. So for a year and a half, I was teaching virtually. And then for the last half a year before I tried to relocate off island, I was in the building. And so for a while, because of the cameras being on me and stuff, I didn't feel comfortable in my apartment. The neighbors were doing weird, creepy stuff, similar to what they do in this neighborhood. Because it was the houses were so close together. It was like this compound with apartments. And so they used to be stomping on the roof. And when I'm going in the bathroom, they're stomping on the roof it upstairs. So, to let me know that they know that I'm going in the bathroom. I'm cooking. I used to chef up, y'all. You can see on my Facebook, I was cooking a lot. I felt big having an apartment. I like to cook. So at first I was really comfortable before I started realizing what was going on. And I was cooking and stuff, and it's like, they're doing weird stuff. Like outside my door, I'm hearing weird stuff. And, I started cutting my fingers. It was so nervous. Like I was cutting my fingers and it was a mess. So anyway, eventually I started staying in my car because I was so uncomfortable. And I would teach from my car. But that's how bad it got, y'all. I just want y'all to understand how bad it got before I tried to relocate off island. And I realized that I was being watched on camera. So anyway, when I got to the mainland and, I got to the Greyhound station in Tennessee and that guy walked by me and looked at me like that and I heard the bird chirping sound, that was when I realized this thing from the island had followed me. I was like, oh my God. And I started getting paranoid and then I had this horrible reaction when I got on the bus and I felt like everybody was a quote unquote gang stalker. I didn't know that was the term at the time. Like I said, I didn't know I was a target at the time. I just knew something weird was happening on island. So I started to feel like everybody on the bus was, like I said, I didn't know the term was gang stalker, but was a part of it, right? Whatever the thing was that was happening on island. So I started acting a scornful kind of way, and it was already during COVID anyway. So I am already a hypochondriac. So I truly did have Lysol, and I truly was wearing a mask and spraying off the seats. But I wasn't acting like a bitch like how I acted once I realized the thing followed me. Like I was purposely spraying my legs and spraying around me and acting like everybody was disgusting. And then unfortunately for me, right across the aisle from me and the seats to the right of the bus, I was in the seats to the left. There was a homeless guy that kept coughing and coughing and coughing. And so I kept spraying my Lysol and acting scornful. When I was on several buses, I know they have the footage with homeless people who were coughing and hacking. And actually there was a gay guy that befriended me a few bus stations back at Atlanta, and he was really being nasty to a homeless person. He sprayed them. He took the Lysol. I even had to tell him to chill out. And he was telling me he had a heart condition or something. He just sat next to me and said, hey girl, and made friends with me and stuff. And he was cool and I was alone. So I didn't mind, talking to him and traveling with him. He was really extroverted, right? And so he started telling me his life story and how he lives at College Park in Atlanta and where he was going. And I started kind of telling him my story, but not really. I didn't tell him the weird stuff that was happening on island. I just told him I was starting over and we were talking. It just felt good to have companionship. So anyway, when we got close to Atlanta, When we got close to Atlanta, he just started to fucking trip. Excuse my language, he started to trip because I understand now why. Because remember, COVID was really serious, and if you had a compromised immune system or something going on, you could have died if you caught COVID. And so he even showed me this scar on his chest, like he had had heart surgery or something. He had a heart condition. And so there was this homeless couple that was sitting right in front of us, but to the right. Like I said, we were, you know how there are aisles in the Greyhound bus, similar to the Tennessee station, where I started acting the fool when I realized the thing followed me. And I told y'all there was a homeless man in the aisle to the right and I was in the aisle to the left. Before we got to that station, though, and before I realized the thing followed me, I was sitting in the left aisle with this guy. And, you know, this homeless couple came on the bus and they were in the right aisle, but they were like a seat ahead of us, but they were still in the vicinity of us. And so if they did have COVID and they were coughing the way they were coughing, he could have caught it. But I could tell that was a cigarette cough. Like, I mean, you know, you really can't be sure, right? And at the time, like I said, the restrictions for COVID had just lifted for the quarantine. But it was still like this off and on thing where they kept putting us on quarantine and then lifting the quarantine and then putting us on quarantine. So it was still risky. I lost my favorite author to COVID. Y'all can look this up, Adrian Bird. I like to read romance novels. I have a Kindle full of romance novels. I don't even read them anymore due to the targeting and neuromonitoring and them listening to my thoughts. But I had just learned a couple years ago that one of my favorite authors, Adrian Bird, lost her life to COVID. So that's how serious it was. So anyway, this homeless couple came on and they were coughing up a storm, similar to how the homeless guy that I acted the fool with a few stations later at Tennessee was coughing. I know they have this on footage. They just want to villainize me. Anyway, they were coughing like crazy, coughing like, and they were white, by the way. And I could tell it was likely a cigarette cough. Like it sounded like maybe, you know, it could have been like COPD or something like that. Just from an accumulation of smoking, the lungs eventually do start to build up tar. And they start to turn black. Right? And so I think that's what was going on with them. You could even see they had cigarettes on them. They had a box of cigarettes on them. I could tell it wasn't COVID, honestly. He starts going ham. He said, they're so nasty. He's going ham on them, dude. He started grabbing me. He said, give me that. He took the Lysol. He started spraying at them. I said, hey, chill out. I told the man to chill out. I said, I'll get you a mask. When we went to, you know, the Greyhound bus as it's going, it makes stops at like different stores and stuff so you can get snacks. They take little stops. When we stopped at the next store, I went in and I bought him a mask because he showed me he had a scar on his chest and that he had heart surgery. But I'm like, God damn, you can't go around spraying people. I understand, you know, that they should wear a mask, but you can see they're homeless. You can see that they're probably not fully mentally there. They're coughing up a storm. It looks like to me, it seemed like it was cigarettes coughs. That's what it seemed like to me. I wasn't concerned, but then again, I was wearing a mask too. But it didn't seem like a COVID cough. You really can't tell the difference anyway. It sounds similar. A cigarette cough could sound similar to a COVID cough, but I didn't think they had COVID. Anyway, he starts flipping off. So I just told him to chill out. And when we went to the next station, all of this is on camera. But they totally negated that footage. And they just honed in on the footage in Tennessee where I realized that the thing followed me. I know they looked at the cameras and saw what I said is true. That I woke up on the suitcase and this roster dude walked in front of me with birds chirping and he looked at me. And then that was when I started to get paranoid. I started looking around and started realizing I was probably being watched on camera, like back at the house, back on island. So anyways, I had this freaking reaction on the Greyhound bus where I started acting scornful and spraying myself, and there just happened to be a homeless man coughing the same way the other homeless people were coughing, and I wasn't acting like that and I didn't spray him, by the way. I sprayed my legs. I was spraying around myself, but just acting scornful. And there was a Spanish guy, or he was Indian, I couldn't tell really. One of those racially ambiguous people sitting to the left of me. And he didn't look homeless. He wasn't coughing. I was even acting like that with him. Every time he would move his leg, I'd scrunch into the seat like I didn't want him to touch me. And so he purposely started to snicker and open his legs wide so his leg would touch me. But I was purposely just being a bitch and acting this scornful kind of way because I realized the thing followed me. And so I didn't know who was who and who was involved. They took that moment and painted it like I mistreat homeless people and tied it to me sharing the offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda in my car in Florida and made this whole thing out of it. It's like just complete manipulation. Anyway, so nonetheless, but they negated the other footage, though, where I was with the gay guy, right? And I don't mean to say gay guy. I'm not trying to be offensive. That's what he was, and I don't remember his name. He even had my number, and I have a different phone now, so I lost contact, obviously. He was a cool guy, though. Like, we made friends in 30 seconds. He sat next to me. He was gregarious, talkative. That's typically, I've said this before in my videos, that's typically the type of people I make friends with, and that's typically the type of men that I date, because I'm shy and I'm introverted. So it's usually somebody that's going to approach me and talk to me. That's typically how it's gone in my life, with my friendships and my relationships. Anyway, so nonetheless, he was just one of those people that made me comfortable, and he was just talking up a storm, started telling me his whole life story. In the matter of one Greyhound bus, I learned this man's whole life story. I knew the man he was messing with. I knew his ex-boyfriend. I knew the man he was messing with was on the down low. It was like a real soap opera with this man. He was telling me a bunch of stuff about his personal life. But anyway, nonetheless, he was showing me pictures and all kinds of stuff too. I was looking at the pictures and I was just like, whoa. I was just like, okay. But it's entertaining. You know, I was sitting here by myself terrified because I'm about to start over in a new state, and I did my research, but this is the first time I'm on my own, and I'm, you know, low-key, even though I'm a brave person and I'm an independent person, you know, low-key I was scared. But I'm like, he sat next to me and he starts talking to me, and he just made me feel so comfortable. I was like, okay, I have a friend. I felt safe. Anyway, so nonetheless, he was going ham on that white couple. Like, the way he was going on with them, it was just like, you know, it wasn't a race thing, though. You could tell he wasn't a prejudiced person. You could tell he wasn't. I could tell he was the kind that made friends with anyone. It was really just that they were coughing, and he, you know, it's like there was no filter there. It's like, I understand it's probably just fear that led him to move like that, because he had a whole scar in his chest and he had heart surgery. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you can't just spray people with Lysol, right? Like, so I was just like, what? I said, hold it down. I said, I'll get you a mask when we stop again. And I did get him a mask. But anyway, so nonetheless, they negated that, though. I'm sure he's living his best life, because he called me. Before I came back to Island, when I was still in Florida, he called me several times, and I spoke to him a couple times. And he was living his best life in Florida. Atlanta. He lives in College Park. And the thing hadn't followed him, and all big blow up and stuff like what happened to me. So I'm just like, he actually sprayed them, though. But y'all ignored that. But you saw the moment where I realized the thing followed me and I sprayed myself. And you made this big thing out of it, though. So anyway, it just turned into this big, huge thing. And it blew up, and more things happened. And the more that I was being antagonized and stalked by all these different freaking people, the more I reacted. Listen to my story, y'all. I'm not meaning to retell the story here in this video. I'm just telling you, it's crazy how one text in 2020 led to where I'm at now. And how it's just been like a snowball effect. Literally. So anyways, nonetheless, I ended up back here on the island that I tried to relocate off of, and the island I was born and raised on. I had to come home. I had no choice, because things were blowing up and my life was in jeopardy at a certain point. I couldn't really work like that. I was doing DoorDash. That's what I was able to do. The other opportunities that I had started to dry up, especially when I started sharing the Hebrew Israelite propaganda. Everything was drying up. Excuse me. And I didn't care at that point, because, initially I wasn't sharing it for that reason. I started just looking up, like, that goes back to what I was talking about when I went off on the tangent. I went to what my belief system was. This is how we were raised from high school on to this age. This is how we were raised. We were taught that we were Hebrew. And so this is what we were following in this household. And so the offensive stuff had nothing to do with anything. We weren't ever even fully subscribed to that ideology. It was just something that we learned. It wasn't something that we were fully subscribed to. It was something that we're not sure about. And actually, if you look up, not to, you don't have to look that shit up, but if you look into that and you look into the Hebrew ideology, you'll see that there's a big debate about that thing, the offensive thing I was sharing anyway. There are a lot of Hebrews who don't believe that. And then also you have Hebrews who are not sure. And then you have the ones that are hardcore, like full on believe what I was sharing. I just shared it out of anger. I was sharing a bunch of offensive shit. What happened is I was Hebrew. That was my belief system at the time. I'm just being honest. All of us in this house were, and they still are actually. And I was dealing with what felt like spiritual warfare. I thought it was witchcraft. That's the other thing they're throwing at me. Oh, she's crazy, this and that, for saying witchcraft, even though that's something that a lot of people down here have talked about before. This is an island. A lot of people down here have talked about that before. I've had dudes telling me about dudes down here that be reading from books and stuff. My cousin was right here in this house telling us stories, and we were believing him too. So anyway, my grandma's from Trinidad, not from this island, but, obviously she moved to this island with my grandfather and with my father. And my father met my mom, and, that's how we came to be, my siblings and I. But she used to tell us all kinds of stories about witchcraft and stuff. So it's something I truly do believe exists. And I know a lot of people believe it too, down here. So they keep trying to act like I'm crazy for saying what I said. Do you have to understand, to have sent an innocent text in 2020 and for it to have blown up the way it did, where I'm being watched on camera and stalked and it's like America's Most Wanted, and I never learned about targeting. I never heard about it before. So I tried to relocate off island and all these people are stalking me and it's blowing up. I thought it was witchcraft. I still low-key kind of think something's going on, to be honest with you. But I'm just not like accusing anybody. Something weird is happening. It feels spiritual. Anyway, nonetheless, whatever. I thought it was witchcraft or some sort of spiritual warfare. So I sat in my car, and I was Hebrew at the time. That's what I was taught to believe in high school. And so I started looking up Hebrew. We were never subscribed to any specific camp. So I wasn't affiliated with those guys in the purple that believe in the offensive Hebrew Israelite ideology. So that's why I apologize to them too, because it's like, I'm not affiliated with you. I never really came to your church like that, but I'm sitting here sharing the worst of your content because I'm angry. That's never good. So anyway, I was really just looking up Hebrew Israelite videos from different groups about spiritual protection from spiritual warfare. And the more I'm looking it up, they're using the technology on me, and I didn't know about it. I didn't know about that technology. I didn't know I was a target. They had a problem with me from Indiana before I even got down to Florida because of what happened on the Greyhound bus. And then what was happening when I was being stalked. And then I made this stupid, ignorant comment about cigarettes. Like, it seems like everyone up here smokes, and they took offense to that too. And it just started turning real gnarly in Indiana, and it started taking like a racial turn. There was this thing with a police officer. Y'all just have to listen to my story, y'all. I've been through a lot. So I ended up down in Florida, driving down to Florida with this car that I had gotten from Carvana. I managed, because of my good credit, to get a car on Carvana, despite not having a job and doing DoorDash. I used some of my savings to get the car from Carvana, and I had a good credit score. And I was in my car in Florida doing DoorDash and living in my car, basically. And then, looking up videos, like I said, for spiritual protection against spiritual warfare, Hebrew videos. And they had a problem with me down there because of what had happened in Indiana. And I was targeted. They knew who I was. So they were purposely using the technology to send stuff about predators and sexual predators and this and that. Every video I'm clicking on has the topic of sexual predators and this and that. Every video. And I didn't know about the technology. So in my head, I was like, this is definitely witchcraft. I'm like, how the hell everything I'm clicking on is about this and I didn't do anything? And the more it's coming on, the more anxious I'm getting, and then the more they're revving by in the background. And I'm just like, oh my God. I started to get lit. You know how angry you get when you didn't do something? You have a bunch of people on top of you. I got so angry. So I've said this before. They know the whole story. They know the whole story. You just want to punish me. It's not about the fucking shit. Excuse my language. I'm just frustrated, y'all. It's not what they're pretending it's about. Because they even used the guys in purple who created the content to gang stalk me. You don't have people on top of them in the gym and everywhere they're going following them. It's not about that. Stop faking. It's not about that. So anyways, so I got angry. And so the videos I was pulling up about spiritual protection went out the window. And I started purposely putting on like the most offensive Hebrew content I could find. Even things that I didn't necessarily subscribe to. My ex-boyfriend James was from Colombia, and he was a Caucasian man. He had green eyes. They did their research. They made him contact me. Anyway, so nonetheless, I started to share like the most offensive stuff I could find on purpose. And it wasn't just about white people. I went to the Chinese restaurant. This is why they use Asian people on me sometimes, even though it was only one day that I shared offensive stuff about Asian people. I came for white people way more than I did Asian people. One day in my car, because I went and did DoorDash at the Chinese restaurant, they were doing gang stalk and stuff in there, and it pissed me off. I purposely was looking up Hebrews because I know there's some sort of offensive content out there somewhere. I purposely started looking up offensive stuff about Asian people one day in my car, and I never did it again. I was over it. It was just I was angry because of a DoorDash interaction at the Chinese restaurant. But you have to understand, in Indiana, it was mainly racially charged, what I was dealing with. So it was just like an accumulation when I got down there to Florida. So anyway, because Florida's very diverse. Florida is like, it's not that. But anyway, whatever. So I shared the offensive content. I was sharing stuff about the holidays. I shared offensive stuff about Christians. I shared offensive stuff about whatever, man. White people, that one day, Asian people, what else? I can't remember. It was like a bunch of offensive shit. I was just angry. It was reactive abuse. I've seen a lot of targets get called racist because they share offensive stuff. I saw a white one that was saying nigger on camera. He was following me. I was like, what? And he was angry because he was in like a rough area. It looked like because he's struggling, and he's targeted. He was around a bunch of black people and they're doing what they, doing what they do. And he screamed out nigger. So, I mean, and I'm sure he's probably not even really a racist. He's just angry, and in the moment, this is what he screamed out. It's not okay. It's not okay, but it's like it's reactive abuse. If the person apologizes, they're not still sharing the content. Why are you still punishing them? But you're claiming change and you're giving them a second chance, but you're still punishing them years later? It's 4 years later. And you're using the people who shared the offensive content as gang stalkers on me? That's not what this is about. I'm not stupid. It's a grudge that's being held for several things, y'all. Anyway, that's what it's really about. Anyway, and of course it's easy to recruit white people because they don't like me. I shared offensive stuff in my car that they saw. So of course they're going to hop on board with anything you tell them to hop on board with. Duh. So anyways, I forgot what to say now, y'all. So that's what's going on, y'all. It's just like this grudge they're holding on me, and they've been holding me down for like 6 years with the targeting, like just torturing me nonstop. And it's like this bipolar stuff, and they're pulling all the strings, and they run the jobs, and they run everything, and I need to work, and you know, it's like I have to just take the abuse, and it's like they're like acting like they're gonna give me a second chance, but then they're just doing these underhanded things, and it's not like genuine gang stalking interactions. I told you what happened with the guy with the green hat. I knew he was a gang stalker, the white guy in the new gym with the green hat. And he came and act like he's helping me with the barbell and stuff. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe this is a step in the right direction because he's white. He has the green hat, and I know he's a gang stalker. But maybe this is them showing, like, extending an olive branch or something. And showing, like, okay, be amicable. He'll be amicable with you. You be amicable with him. No, it was just more bullying. And so he acts like he's helping me, and then he lays a drink down by the weights. And so then after I get, you know, like, confused and bassety because I noticed he put the drinks down. Remember the thirsty narrative from the old gym? By the drinks. And then I saw him do a smirk, and he grabbed the drink and disappeared. And then I went and did an uneven deadlift because I was so bassety from the whole interaction anyway. The plates were put on wrong, and that's what led to the injury. They saw that interaction. I wasn't moving as awkward with him as I was moving with these new gang stalkers they're using on me. Like, it's never a genuine thing with these gang stalkers. It's like they're just continuing on with the bullying and the grudge that they're holding. And then they want to, like, villainize you and manipulate when you're fed up with it. It's like, I just want to work out. I don't feel like the fake interaction and whatever this is. Like, I just want to work out and go home. And then you get frustrated, and then it's like, it's easy to pay, especially if they use certain gang stalkers like an elderly person. Or an elderly white person of all things. It's easy to manipulate and say, see, she is a monster, she's a bitch. No, you're manipulating. So today I was fed up with it, man. I had up to here with it, man, because this is the gang stalker, right? First, what they did, right? After I done got the injury, you done see I got an injury from the gang stalking. Like, you don't have no kind of, like, feel bad about it? You see, I healed myself. Thank God it wasn't a prolapse or a hernia like what I thought it was. You're still doing the gang stalking stuff. You're still putting people on top of me. It's like they're trying to impede my workout. Because it's not even like these gang stalkers are just talking to me and then, like, going off about their business. And, okay, let's just see if she's going to be amicable with them. They'll linger around the whole workout and keep talking to you in the middle of a set. It's, like, literally to impede the workout. Hear the reffing in the back. And you hear, this is what I'm saying. Some of these people are scrupulous. It's, like, no kind of, like, there's no moral. There's no type of emotion or feeling, and then they call me a socio. It's like they're completely like sociopaths, sadistic sociopaths. I just said the whole thing I just said. You have somebody revving by about what I'm saying. It's like sadistic, and then they would paint it like I'm the sadistic person that has no emotions and this and that and the third. And then you wonder why I'm guarded, I'm moving the way I'm moving. Oh, she's just angry, she's a bitch. No, you're manipulating and you're torturing me. Leave me alone. So anyways, so after I done got the injury and I healed myself, you know, I'm going down there, I'm working out. Before I got the injury, actually, there was this elderly black guy they were using on me, off and on. You know, at first it started out where he just talking to me a little bit. So I was polite, you know, I'm like, okay, maybe they're still pushing this thing about trying to teach me how to be amicable, even though I don't need to be taught that. I never had an issue with being courteous to people before my targeting. But let's go along with it, okay? You know, at least it's a friendly old man. But then it started getting kind of overwhelming, the interactions, because then it's not just like a hello. It's like he's coming over in the middle of the workout and I'm doing a set and he's stopping me to tell me something. And it's just like constantly that I'm feeling awkward because the cameras are on me and I'm not good at small talk. I'm an introvert. I'm not good at small talk. You're going to punish me because I'm introverted? I've never been a big talker. I'm not. I hate small talk. I'm sorry. I'm real. You want me to be fake? They keep calling me fake, fake, fake. You want me to be fake? I'm not a fake person. I don't like small talk. If it's one thing where you come over and you're friendly and you introduce yourself and then we have a little conversation here and there off and on, sure, that's cool. But it's like the whole workout kind of lingering around doing this gang stalking thing, and then in the middle of my sets keep stopping me to talk to me and or stopping and watching me. Like, it's just stuff to make me to mess up with the workout, man. It's like this manipulation tactic. So anyway, after a while I started, especially after I got the injury, I lost my patience. Because before the injury, I was kind of noticing that, but I still was just like, this is an elderly person. I'm going to, they're trying to, whatever they're trying to do, right? I'm going to be friendly with him still, even though he's like actually literally stopping me in the middle of my sets and telling me stuff now. I'm just like, okay, let me still be friendly with him though. Then I got the injury and I realized they're still doing the bullying thing and the tactics and all the other stuff they've been doing in between. And I'm like, just please leave me alone when I come to the gym. After the injury, I thought for sure I was going to be left alone. Like, okay, sure, you're going to have the people sitting around pretending like they're babysitting me when they know I'm not a threat or anything of the sort. But okay, let's play the game. But it's the interruption. You're still putting people to interrupt and do stuff. Like, you don't feel bad about the fact that my whole freaking vagina almost fell out? Excuse my language and my candor, y'all. It's like, let's finish the bitch off. Like, what's going on? So anyway, so after the injury and healing myself, y'all, and get myself back together, I changed my time to a later time. So I was no longer seeing that elderly man anyway, but they were doing a bunch of gang stalking stuff in there. But still, at least it wasn't like my workout was being interrupted. What they were doing sometimes was purposely putting people in locations where they knew I was going to work out. And I'm noticing, like, I pick a time that's empty-ish, something like the old gym, and all of a sudden more people come in at that time. And they're purposely setting people to be on machines. It's just a tactic. They're just trying to impede my workout, man. So anyways, it's like it's bothering them or something. Like, that's what it kind of seems like. It reminds me of what was happening in the old gym after what happened with the dude. It's still them holding a torch for this situation with this man. This is what it is. And plus the other grudge that's being held and what this is really about. Because it's not about the white people thing. They're just willing to hop on board because they think I'm a bitch. Due to me sharing offensive stuff. I'm like, you think I'm stupid? Of course they're going to hop on board. So anyways, nonetheless... So anyways, y'all, after the injury and getting myself together, I changed my gym time, but now I've gone to an earlier time. Not as early as I was going when I was seeing that older black guy before. It was like around 11 when I used to see him. I'm going at 2 now. He doesn't go at that time. I noticed they started making him come all of a sudden because they thought that I wouldn't remember because I'm going a little bit earlier. I'm like, this is not the time he was coming to the gym. So anyway, they're making him come, and he started doing the thing again where he's like stopping and talking to me. So I finally made a comment about it, especially now that I got the injury and stuff. Like, my patience is to hear with it. I know it's not genuine. I've at this point almost freaking dropped a private part. So I made a comment. I said I'm not really, not to him. When I left the gym, I said, I really feel uncomfortable with them constantly making this elderly man like have these like it feels like forced conversations with me on the camera. What is this, for the island? Like, entertainment? Because I don't need to be taught how to treat an elderly person. I'm very courteous, and I know they've seen it too. I went to the laundry and I had a genuine interaction with an elderly lady that works at the laundry. She was very sweet and very nice. And I had a very good conversation with her, and I went about my business. It wasn't like these forced fake conversations and you'd really just trying to impede my workout. So anyways, nonetheless, I said what I said. When I left the gym, I said it's kind of making me uncomfortable. These forced conversations, I'm not good at small talk. I'm introverted, and it seems like every time I'm going to the gym now, they're purposely like, making him talk to me during my sets and stuff. And like, I'm in between a set and he's stopping me to tell me something. And, so I made the comment about it. So I thought for sure they were going to stop doing what they were trying to do, because it's like they started making him come to the gym again when they saw that I, just recently when I changed my gym time to an earlier time. So I noticed he's still coming there now. So I just kind of started doing this thing where I put my head down when he's coming in my direction, because I was literally like squatting. I kid you not, at the rack squat, and I see him coming in my direction. I knew he might stop me while I'm squatting in between a set again. So I kind of just put my head down like this. I noticed they stopped using him. All of a sudden now they put a white elderly man. They know what they're doing. That's why I said it's manipulation tactics. They know I'm already the villain. They know that I've been villainized, right? They're painting this false narrative about me and elderly people, which it's just not true. Because I live in a neighborhood, right, that the demographic is elderly people mixed. It's not just elderly people here, but there are a lot of elderly people in this neighborhood, and they torture me all day long. I'm not saying the elderly people. I can't see who's doing what. I know for a fact there's a man, like 2 men on this street that are around my dad's age. That's early 60s. That is elderly, but it's not the kind of elderly they're trying to use on me in the gym. These people that they're using in the gym look like 70s, 80s, that type of thing. These are people that are just entering the realm of elderly, where you still got some youth and pep to your step. You just started getting older, you have full sense, and you're doing torture tactics. There's this one man that's obsessed with me. I've talked about him in several videos. He tortures me all day long. You think I'm not going to get upset because you have a little age to you? You're still doing horrible things. And I'm human. So anyway, it's not a problem with treating elderly people, but I've never been told that in my life. So they're just trying to make and fake all these, fake all these different things as excuses for why they're doing what they're doing to me. That's not the real reason, trust me. That's not it either. It's not the elderly thing. It's not the white people thing. It's none of that. But you can get those people to hop on board, though, especially the white people. It won't be hard. Anyway, so nonetheless, so they purposely now get a white elderly man because this is going to look bad. You already know what happened at the Greyhound station. So that was part of the villainization of Sharifa. And then you know what happened with white people. I'm on eggshells there. So I'm going to feel uncomfortable now to say something about it. So you manipulate and you pull a white elderly man now. Because I'm going to feel awkward about saying something about it so you can keep now impeding the workout and torturing me. That's pretty much what it is. So he comes next to me, right? And again, similar to the other guy, it started off as like just this friendly thing. He did not interrupt my set. He waited till I was done with my set the first time he spoke to me. I was on the, the abductor machine? That machine where you open your legs and you're working your outer glutes? And I had, I believe, 100 pounds on there. Excuse me. So he did the symbol immediately to let me know he's a gang stalker. It wasn't even like the other guy where he was at least trying to pretend nice, I actually kind of respect this older guy more than the guy with the green hat or any of the other gang stalkers to use. At least he was straight to the point. He did the symbol one time for me to know, hey, gang stalker. He did a symbol with his hand. And then he said, hey, that's a lot of weight on there. He said, you think I could do it? You think I could do it? I said, I'm sure you can. And they said, because to me, 100 pounds isn't a lot, but he is an older man. But 100 pounds is kind of lightweight when it comes to that type of machine. If you're squatting it and you're not somebody that squats like that, then I would say 100 pounds is a little something. But with the machine where you're opening your legs, you can kind of load those up. You can load those up pretty heavy. So that's why I said, I think you can handle it. So he hopped on it and he did it. And I said, okay, good job, right? I said, good. He started talking to me about, I didn't even know I could do this, whatever he was saying. I knew it was gang stalking, the whole thing. So obviously I'm acting awkward and uncomfortable. And then it's sensitization too. But I'm still being courteous. I'm not having an attitude with him. I was still trying my best, despite feeling awkward on these cameras, to have a conversation with him and be amicable. And after what I already went through with the other gang stalker, that was pretending to be nice. Meanwhile, he had a drink ready and set for me to see when I went over to the rack squad, and he grabs it up and smirks and leaves. Bullying. Anyway, so I'm like, all right. So nonetheless, I'm still trying to be courteous, especially since it's an older man too. Forget the white thing. He's older. So already the respect is there, right? I'm like, okay, let me just be respect. Let me see how they're going to play it now, because I already knew the tactic. From the time I see that they got rid of the black guy now and they get the white elderly man, I'm like, they're manipulating, because they know I'm going to feel uncomfortable to say anything because I'm already villainized. And it's an elderly white man. They think they're smarter than me. So anyway, I still was being courteous with him though the first day, even though he did the symbol and stuff. Then he kept, after he did the thing, it's like he started to do this thing where he's interrupting my sets. It's like I'm in the middle of a set and he keeps talking to me while I'm in the middle of the set. And then of course too, my brain is ticking. I can't help it. It does not just happen with white people. They know full well it happens all day long. It happens with the cashiers. It happens every day. Now that I think about it, almost every person that I'm next to, my brain ticks when I'm next to them, actually. It's real bad. So I keep saying I wish that out of all the things that they would stop with the targeting, I wish they would turn my brain off. It's like that's one of the most torturous parts of the targeting is your thoughts projecting. And it causes what I call Tourette's, neural Tourette's, where it's like it feels like stuff's popping in because you're just fearful that it will pop in. So I already talked about what happens with white people sometimes. I can't help that. I can't help it. There's something that happens with young females too that was happening. Thank God that tick has kind of subsided, but that tick wants to happen sometimes too, where a name will pop in my head that's associated with the false narrative. Thank God that kind of stopped, but that still happens too sometimes. So anyways, so my brain's just ticking, and the more it ticks, the more he's coming and talking to me, and it was just like, it was obvious he was just trying to mess up my workout. So anyway, I was still courteous with him the whole time. Even though I was probably acting awkward, I can't help it. I'm not a fake person, and I know this is a fake interaction. I'm still trying to be courteous because this is an elderly person. The second time now they use him, I'm like, wait a minute. They look like they're trying to make this a happen now. So they're going to swap out the black elderly man with the white one because they feel like they're going to be able to do that, and I'm not going to say something about it. I'm still going to say I'm uncomfortable, and I know what you're doing. I know this is gang stalking to impede my workout. I know this is not genuine. Second time now, which was the last time I was in the gym, same tactic where he comes to me, you think I can handle the weight? I said, I'm sure you can. I said, don't you remember me? I said, I'm the same girl from last time. You said the same thing. And he said, oh yeah, I remember you. I said, okay. And he's doing the symbol and all kinds of stuff with his hands, right? And so my brain is ticking and I'm just feeling uncomfortable. And then he keeps interrupting my workouts, and like in the middle of the set though, like he was doing that even more than the other elderly man. Like I felt like he felt emboldened because, like I said, they're doing a manipulation tactic with the program where because he's white, they know I'm on eggshells with white people. They know I shared offensive stuff 4 years ago. So they know I'm definitely now going to feel awkward about saying that, hey, I know this is a tactic that you're using. It's still uncomfortable for me. So instead, I'm trying to like do this forced interaction. It just felt fake, man. It felt fake. I'm not gonna lie. I hate feeling like I'm being fake. They like to say this fake thing about me, but I'm not a fake person. If I were fake, I probably wouldn't be in this situation. I guarantee you that if I were a faker person. If I knew how to be fake and fake the funk, I would not be in the seat I'm in right now. I'm telling you. Anyway, so nonetheless, I was trying still to be courteous though. That's one thing. I wasn't copping an attitude. They did not see me. In fact, they saw me trying my best to keep switching songs to not offend him. Now I have a playlist full of rough, hard rap music that I got from this guy named Microchip. They sent it to me. He's a guy that works out and he does like 1 meal a day, like what I'm doing, the lifestyle I'm trying to do where I eat 1 meal a day and you're eating healthier, etc. And he had like this playlist of hardcore rap music that he listens to when he's working out because it gets you going. It makes you want to, but it's kind of hard when you're targeted. Certain lyrics just, it's hard to listen to when you're targeted and sensitized and they're in the background listening and feeling some kind of way. This is what was happening in the old gym anyway. So now I'm here with this elderly man and, now that he's interacted with me, every song feels like it sounds like a shot at him or them. So everything I'm like changing it and changing. I'm like, oh God, I'm changing. They saw me trying to be courteous, even though I knew this was fake gang stalking and a tactic. I was trying my damnedest to be courteous. Then the song comes on, and there's a next older white man too that came after he was interacting with me the last time. He acted like he's slamming something in the garbage. I know this is not genuine. It's not like you genuinely extending an olive branch and saying, okay, we forgive you. It's more so just like, let's like torture the bitch more. Like that's what it feels like. So anyway, so then this rap song came on, and it's Nipsey Hussle, and he's saying something about the devil. I forgot what he said, something about, and the devil, I forgot what he was saying, but it just sounded like offensive. Every song I kept switching, it felt like it sounded offensive. So I remember flying and trying to change that song, so I said, oh God. I tried to change the song. As soon as that happened, he came to me, all of a sudden he's talking to me again because it said something about the devil, like he's trying to say I'm the devil. And then they send the notification to my phone. So I'm like, this is not genuine. So please just leave me alone and let me work out in peace. I don't care if you're white, blue, yellow, orange, purple. I don't care what your color or your age is. I don't care if you're 80, 10, 12, 30. Please leave me alone and let me just work out in peace and go home. Unless you're genuinely like really giving the second chance and we're going to have a regular interaction and then I can work out in peace. I'm open to that. But the constant interruption of the workout and you don't really care for me and it's not genuine, I'm not a fake person. I'm not. And I know it's a tactic. I've already dealt with bullying. My whole vagina almost fell out from a fake interaction with a gang stalker. That was bullying. So anyway, nonetheless, so of course they're ready to villainize me more. Like, you see how she's, just because I'm acting awkward. I was trying to be courteous. I was trying my damnedest. I even kept changing the songs and stuff to not offend him. You're taking shots at me. You're coming at me about the song Devil and then you sending a notification. So now this time when I saw him driving in with me, I'm like, oh my God, again? I said, wait, so they're going to do this every day now. They're really trying to impede my workout. So I thought the thought in my head, I said, look, I see y'all using this guy again. He actually was driving in from the road. He stalked me from all the way out at the road. I was at the gas station. I realized he was in front of me. That's why I did a double take. I was like, wait a minute. Way before I even got to the gym, he was driving in front of me. I said, wait a minute, isn't that the man from last time? I said, let me see if he's going to turn into the gym with me. He really turned into the gym with me. So look at them doing the ambulance now, because they know what I'm saying is true. And if I don't sit here and make these videos, then they'll just do the manipulation. And it would have just been like, yeah, you see, she's a bitch. Look how she's moving. Because how I moved today. Because today now I was moving different. They'll just take the moment. They know full what they're doing, you know. And then she's a bitch again. And paint it like I'm a bitch again. And use it to further villainize me. If I don't sit here and horse out my voice and make these freaking videos. Targeted individual. That's how it works. So anyways, hear the ambulance now. Listen. Y'all hear it? So anyways, y'all. Anyway, listen how hammed, because they know what I'm saying is true. And if I don't sit here and make these videos, they will literally do these tactics, these manipulative tactics, and then use it as a way to villainize me further and punish me further too. Because remember, they were hinting at me being able to teach again and or being a correction officer. They started sending stuff today with the technology about teaching all of a sudden. I'm like, really? Manipulation. So anyways, nonetheless, even though I know they did their research and I know they know about the white student too that I had before I left Island that was not doing his work, who failed other classes. He was an honor student because he was smart. The man was smart. He just didn't want to do his work. And I saw the potential in him. I knew it because I've been there before. I was that student once upon a time where you understand the material, but you just don't feel like doing it. I was that student once upon a time. So I gave him an opportunity. He passed my class with a B. I know they did the research. I even talked about the fact that you would never believe what his name is. It's like true synchronicity if you knew what his name was. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm not going to go any further into that. But nonetheless, they know I'm not a prejudiced person. And they know I wouldn't have an issue with teaching because I had a white student in the past that I did right by. So you could kiss the... Anyway, so it's not about that. It's manipulation. So anyways, y'all... So nonetheless, y'all, so once I thought what I thought, and I was already angry too, by the way. Before I even got to the gym, I was already angry. They saw my face set up because when I was leaving the neighborhood, there was a bunch of gang stalking bullshit going on in the neighborhood, as usual. So you're dealing with it in every aspect. It's a torture campaign. It's a nonstop 24/7 torture campaign. It's genocide is what they're calling it here on American soil, but it's not just here on American soil, it's everywhere. They're doing it to countless innocent individuals. Anyway, so nonetheless, because to do that to somebody 24/7, you know eventually they're going to flip out. And then you're going to use the flip out as an excuse to do... What kind of wickedness is that? So anyways, nonetheless, so I was already pissed when I left this neighborhood. Then I went to the gas station. They done had some Rasta man, older Rasta man, pull up with an army pants and a yellow shirt like they hoping I was going to have an attitude. I just totally ignored him. And I went and I got a turmeric shot, and the gas station guy was nice to me. He said, hey, that's my favorite shot, whatever. He didn't say favorite. He said, I like that shot. I like that one. Whatever he said about the shot, man. I said, yeah, this one is a good one because it has the beats in it and stuff. I was courteous. I didn't have an attitude. I wiped the angry look off my face and I headed to the gym. They decide to now put the elderly guy on top of me again. So this time now, as I'm pulling up, I said, I know what y'all are doing. I said, wait, you're going to use him every day now? I said, I know it's gang stalking. And just like the other elderly guy, I still feel uncomfortable. I don't care if I didn't say I don't care if he's white, but I said, I know I understand he's white. That's probably why you're using him now, because you think I'm not going to say something, but I'm still uncomfortable. I want to work out in peace. Something like that is what I thought in my head. So then I go in the gym. They have a girl with short black pants walking out. So again, trying to push everything they can as an excuse for why they're doing what they're doing to me. They already know I didn't do anything. They know full well I didn't do anything. They've been monitoring my thoughts. You know I didn't do anything. They've been monitoring my thoughts, and they know what happened and what preceded the text message. Actually, me telling my story is what led to me actually getting some sort of ease in the targeting, even though it's still bad. They knew I hadn't done anything from the jump. I guarantee you, that's not why I got thrown in this. This is a lot deeper, like I said, a lot deeper than what you think if you listen to my story. Anyway, so whatever, right? Whatever. So I go in there, right? And I go down the stairs and I start my workout and stuff. The elderly guy didn't come by me. I guess it's because I thought whatever I thought in my head down in the car. So I finished my leg extensions, and there's people in the area. I see this white guy with what looked like an army pants. He looked middle-aged, like maybe in his 50s or something like that. He was moving around. He wasn't really bothering me. He was just moving around the place. So I don't care. If you do that, I don't care. If you're just around the place walking around and you're wearing the army stuff or you're acting like you're watching me, it's annoying, but I don't care. I'm going to just keep working out. It's the, like, you're doing this manipulation tactic, and those are the things that it's like, it makes it like you're trying to impede the workout at this point now. So anyway, after I finished the leg extensions, I went to go get the barbell to do my Bulgarians. As I'm heading there, I see a Spanish girl walking by with a green outfit on. I'm like, they're doing everything. I said, what is really the problem? Because remember, I told you they tried to sensitize them. I'm not going into the details about it. I really don't ever want to talk about that situation and what that manifested from again. I'm not mentioning it again in these videos. I'm not going to keep talking about people from years and eons ago. It was something I talked about in my full story because I was telling my life story. And I said too much in certain instances. I'm not talking about where that manifested from again. It's something from freaking high school that they're holding on to and trying to create something from. And I never said anything about Spanish women. They created something with that. So anyway, I'm not going to go into the details of whatever, y'all, but just know they sensitized me to Spanish women. Again, just manipulation. So I see the girl walking by in green. I'm like, what is really the issue? Is the problem because I'm lifting heavy and I look good? Because it's like, it's obvious that you're trying to like make me have this warped sense of self and bully me is what it seems like. And it's like, and now I've recovered and I'm lifting heavy again and I'm doing good again. Is that why like you're amping up with the targeting and throwing certain people at me? This is why I had to wonder. It's because of the tactics they use. Look at the recent videos and stuff they've been doing, y'all. Look at what they do. So this is why I start thinking, what is really the issue? So I started moving this pompous kind of way. When I saw her, I really just rolled my eyes and I really started to get pompous now. With the elderly man, I just thought whatever thought I thought in my head. I didn't roll my eyes. I wasn't disrespectful. It was when I saw the girl in the green, I was like, nah, man, they are really trying hard. So that's why I rolled my eyes and the pompous, cocky Sharifa came out. So anyway, I put up the barbell and I realized I forgot my water in the car, and I always like to take water with cayenne pepper to open up my blood vessels because I'm lifting heavy. I'm doing 80-pound Bulgarian split squats, and then I go over to the squat rack and I'm doing 55 squats. I'm doing 30 of them at 100 pounds, 10 of them at 135 pounds, 5 of them at 185 pounds, and 5 of them at 205 pounds. And I just recovered from an injury. So I'm having to build back up my endurance, y'all. So even back when I was lifting heavier, because I used to squat 250 is what I used to squat. I actually got to 270 on the barbell. And then on the hack squat machine, I got to 400. But anyway, I have to take the cayenne pepper and the water to open up my blood vessels so I don't pass. Like, you know, you see those weightlifting videos when those guys or those girls are going super heavy and you see them getting wobbly and lightheaded like they're going to pass out. And sometimes they'll like breathe the Celtic salt or whatever it is they breathe up in their nose. I'm not doing all of that. The cayenne pepper is good for inflammation. It's good for your blood vessel. It's a vasodilator. It opens up the blood vessels. What happens is when you're lifting heavy, there's pressure on the vagus nerve. And so that pressure causes you to get lightheaded and sometimes you could pass out. And so if you take the cayenne pepper, it helps alleviate that and it opens up the blood vessels. So that's why I do it. You see me chugging cayenne pepper like crazy in the gym. That's why I do it. So anyways, I realized I forgot my water in the car. So I was like, oh shit, I can't take my cayenne pepper. I forgot my water. So I go to get my water and I just let the guy that owns the gym or the main worker, I don't know if he owns it or if I think he's the owner. I'm not sure. I just said, hey, I'm coming right back because you have to swipe your key card to get in. You know, when you're not to get in, like when you're walking and you have to swipe your key card. So I said, hey, just to let him know, I'm always courteous to him and to the other lady that I think she works there. I mean, I think she owns it as well. I don't know if she's a part owner or if she's just a worker there. She seems like she has more authority. I just get that vibe, that air from her. I think she's like an owner. So I'm always courteous to them. I always talk to them. So instead of just walking out and then coming back in and not swiping my card, I was courteous. I said, hey, I'm just going down to get my water. He said, okay, no problem. As I'm opening the door, I hear him go, do a cough. So I'm just like, he's never done that before. I'm like, all of this for what? What did I do? So that's why I was like really in this mode today, of this cocky kind of mode. Like I had nice music playing on my phone. I was purposely putting on neutral sounds like I always do, trying to be courteous. I went down there and I grabbed the water and then I put on this hardcore song and I put it on repeat. But I had wanted to put that song on anyway. I literally just heard that song in the background of one of these guys that I follow on Facebook, his video. And it has this fire ass beat. There's lyrics in it towards the end that I don't care for at all. That's sensitizing. But in general, the song is fire and it really makes you go hard when you're working out. That's why that guy had it in his song. But typically, I just let it run through the playlist, and when the song comes on, it comes on. I try not to put it on repeat because it's a hardcore song. It's not really throwing shots at anybody, but it's just like a lot of cussing and it's a hardcore song. But when he did that cough and like I need to leave and I hadn't done anything, you know, and all this bullshit is happening, I was just like, let me put the song on repeat. I was in that kind of mood. When I got back inside, I was in that type of mood. And I put the song on repeat, I'm telling you. And I started going ham. All of a sudden, while I'm going ham, the white guy with the army pants, like, I set myself up in between the hack squat machine and the leg press machine because nobody was there. The gym was relatively empty. There was like a few people in there. He purposely comes now next to me on the leg press machine. And I didn't mind him, though. Like I keep saying, he wasn't really being unpleasant. I've dealt with unpleasant gang stalkers, and he was more so just a presence that was there. He wasn't interrupting my workout. He wasn't being unpleasant. He was just a presence, and I knew it was gang stalking. So as long as it didn't impede my workout, that's fine. So when I saw him setting up on the leg press machine, I kindly removed my cell phone and my water that was leaning against the machine, and I put it on the next machine. And I still did my workout, and I was not disrespectful to anybody. So I notice I'm doing the leg press, I'm doing my Bulgarians. I look up and I see one of the workers, they have like this, coincidentally enough, I don't think this has anything to do with me. The workers in there wear teal. Remember I told you off and on they're using teal now because they learned that's my favorite color. I think this is a sheer coincidence, synchronicity. But those guys in there, a lot of them that work in there wear teal. It's like the uniform color. So it's just like, it was meant to be me going to this gym. No, you know, with all the shit I'm dealing with, right? Everywhere I go, it's drama. But anyway, I did like that was their color, but I could tell that has nothing to do with me. That's their color. So anyway, one of those guys came out and he was like acting like he's training somebody. And the reason I'm saying acting like is because I don't always see those guys on the floor. Sometimes I do, but it's what he did is what's making me think it was gang stalking. That's what I'm saying acting like. He was acting like he was training somebody over there. But while I'm doing my Bulgarians, I noticed like he just stopped abruptly what he was doing while I was doing my count. You know, I was doing sets of 10 reps. He just stopped what he was doing. He randomly just turned around and stared at me. And I can't really explain the expression he had on his face. It wasn't a glare. It wasn't a smirk. It wasn't a smile. It wasn't a grimace. I don't even know what to... I'm like very expressive with my words because I'm a writer and I'm into reading, etc., poetry. I can't even think of an adjective to describe his facial expression. I don't know what that was, but he was staring at me for a while. I was like, what's going on? This is just weird activity happening today. They're doing stuff they don't usually do. And I think it was because I was real before I came in the gym and I thought what I thought about the guy. Because I'm just like, I know this is a tactic and I already kind of dealt with quite a few stuff. And it's like the old stuff from the gym is manifesting here. Because it's really just revenge is what it is for the guy from the old gym. And it's not hard to get certain people to jump on board because I've shared offensive stuff throughout the duration of my targeting. But it's like it's amping up. It's like as soon as my injury healed, it's like the targeting started amping up with the tactics they're using. I'm like, what's going on? I'm noticing it. I'm going to say that I'm noticing it. So anyway, he's staring at me like this weird expression. I don't mean to use the word weird. And you know they've already sensitized me to that word too. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I can't really explain what the expression was. I can't even think of an adjective other than weird to describe it. Because I don't know what it was. But he just watched me for a while I'm doing the leg extension. I was like, okay. And so I still kept doing it. I wasn't disrespectful to anybody. Not leg extensions, excuse me, Bulgarians. I was not disrespectful to anybody. So I finished the Bulgarians, and the guy that was on the leg thing was courteous too. He didn't interrupt my set. You know, when he finished doing his leg press and he needed to take his plates off, I was in the middle of a set, and I was, like I said, set up in between the two machines. Rather than interrupting my set, he stood there patiently and let me finish my set, and then I was able to get up, and then he removed his plates. So then I went over to the squat rack to do my squats. All of a sudden, I see this guy from the old gym that I've had interactions with, bad, negative interactions with. He's like bipolar. I've talked about him in videos before. And this is actually, that guy is who I used to validate the thing I said about the Italian guy floating around in my mutual friends on Facebook. If you've been keeping up with my videos, y'all, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't worry about it. Irrelevant. Anyway, so his brother all of a sudden is to the left of me doing deadlifts. And I've seen him throughout the gym before, so I know he's a gang stalker, but he's never really on top of me like that. He's been around me like for a couple of seconds and he disappears, so I don't care. But now all of a sudden he's doing deadlifts right next to me. This is to tell you it's all revenge for this dude from the old gym. That they can't let go of the freaking situation. That's what it's about, but it's deeper than that too. It's like several grudges being held, and then now it's easy to add the element of white people because they now are holding a grudge too, because I did share offensive stuff in my car in Florida. But that's not what this is about. Or you would be following around the guys in purple who truly believe in that stuff and who have been sharing it for years. You wouldn't have them on the side of the road handing out pamphlets and doxing them up. So anyways, y'all, and I'm not trying to come for them because I should have never shared their content. This is how I make more enemies. I'm just trying to show the hypocrisy of it and show you that it's not what they're pretending like it's about. I don't have a problem with those guys in prep. I should have never shared the content. I was dead wrong. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't like I sat up one morning and said, I want to be a bitch and shared the worst of your content. I was authentically looking through Hebrew videos because that was my belief system at the time. Looking for videos about spiritual protection because I thought some sort of spiritual attack was happening. And then certain things, manipulation again, being done where they're sending stuff with the technology. Everything I'm clicking on is about sexual predators and the people in the background are fucking like a freaking lynch mob on top of me. And I got angry and I started sharing offensive shit. So anyways, y'all, it's not what they're pretending like it's about, though. Again, let me reiterate that. But it would not be hard to recruit white people. They don't like me. Duh. I shared offensive stuff. And it was over 4 years ago at this point. That's the crazy part. But you have the people that share the stuff all the damn time and you're using them as gangster. It's not what you're pretending like it's about, baby. It's not. So anyways, mind you, the crazy part is I have white in me. You know, I kid you not. They did their research too. They keep sending me stuff about Ireland. My great-great-grandfather was a white man from Ireland on my mom's side. I kid you not. I swear to God. Anyway, whatever the case is, they did their research too. They start sending me stuff about Ireland. It's not about what they're pretending like it's about. And my ex-boyfriend, this is, I think, more relevant because you could have something in you and still be prejudiced against that race. There are people who are mulatto that are prejudiced against one side of themselves. It happens all the time. So I know that's not really something, but I'm just saying it's not what they're pretending like it's about. That's all I'm trying to tell you. They did their research. They made James contact me, the Colombian guy from Colombia that I was with that lived with me in 2020, right before I came home. He had green eyes. He was from Colombia. We lived together. Anyway, so nonetheless, y'all, back to what I was saying. I'm just trying to show y'all it's not what they're pretending like it's about. They're holding grudges. This is a grudge for the dude in the gym, in the old gym, and several other grudges that they're holding. It's an accumulation of stuff that's going on here. It's not what they're pretending like it's about. Okay? But they can recruit white people. It's not hard. I did share offensive stuff 4 years ago. So anyway, I get over to the rack squat now, and I'm trying to squat. All of a sudden, they have this blonde white girl walking back and forth behind them. While I'm trying to squat, have her walking back and forth behind. So it's similar to like the Spanish girl in the green. It's like this like major tactics being used, and it's just showing me more and more that it's not what you're pretending like it's about. I think it's like that I recovered and I'm doing okay. It's like, let's attack the bitch is what it feels like. It's just everything, not even just inside the gym. Let me not just isolate it to the gym. Everything, if you've checked out the last video I posted, that they have been doing. It's like an attack on my psyche and my self-esteem. Anyway, and it's like this campaign to impede my workout because they've been doing these tactics since the old gym. Since things popped off with that dude. They've been using these tactics since my old gym. Anyways, y'all, I just had to make a video about it because it's manipulation, man. I don't even think I got to rest. What time is it? Oh, thank God, it's only 9:31. I need to sleep. I have work tomorrow and, I just could not sleep until I'm exhausted, y'all. But I could not sleep until I made this video because it's manipulation, man. And then instantly they'll use that to like, you see, she's a bitch. Like to validate. And it's like, you're manipulating. You know what you're doing. It's manipulation. Anyway, I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out.